We're almost ready to light the fire.
Yeah, almost right. All right. Yeah, we can go ahead and light the fire and kick the tires. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Please rise and remove any hats for the invocation.
Our Father, who art in heaven, we're thankful for the opportunity to live in this country where we have rights and freedoms that other countries do not have the opportunity to exercise. We're thankful for the citizens of our community, that they are able to go ahead and come forth and communicate with us, and that we are able to speak of their needs and of their concerns about the direction of our community. We're thankful for our military who protects us and gives us these rights that we cherish so fondly. We ask that you would be with all of us as we discern the matters before this council this evening. And these things we say in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. The first order of business is introductions, presentations, and proclamations.
Roll call.
Oh, a roll call. Sure.
Please. All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Councilmember McKee? Here. And Councilmember Turner appears to be absent at the moment. Councilmember Wojcik? Here. Councilmember Hatch? Here. Councilmember Best?
Here.
Vice Mayor Croft?
Here.
And Mayor Marley?
Here. Yes, Ms. Lewis, Councilmember Turner called me and notified me that he would be out of town. So. Introductions, presentations, and proclamations. Our first item of business is our presentation to our town manager, Robert Smith, of the ICMA, International City County Management Association Credential Managers Award by Yvonne Kimball from Dewey Humboldt. She's the Dewey Humboldt Town Manager and member of the ACMA, the Arizona City County Management Association. So, Ms. Kimball, if you would.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. My name is Yvonne Kimball, like Mayor Marley introduced. I'm a board member of the Arizona City County Management Association and town manager for the town of Dewey Humboldt. Many of you know me. That's a good thing. I'm here today not only representing the 91 cities and towns and 15 counties in Arizona, but also the International City County Management Association, or ICMA. Our mission is to create excellence in local government by developing and fostering professional management to build sustainable communities that improve people's lives. ICMA offers professional development to nearly 9,000 city, town, and county local government professionals throughout the world. The management decisions made by ICMA members affect millions of individuals living in the thousands of communities, from small towns to large metropolitan cities. One of the professional development opportunities that ICMA offers is its credentialing program. This program recognizes local government managers, qualified by a combination of education and experience, adherence to ethical standards, and an assessed commitment to lifelong learning. I'm here tonight as your very own Robert Smith has completed the credentialing program and has received the designation of the credentialed manager by the ICMA Executive Board. It means that now Mr. Smith is joining an elite group of top local government executives, including myself. Only 29 active city, county, town managers in Arizona have achieved this certification. Only 1,300 people worldwide are credentialed. To receive the ICMA CM designation, Mr. Smith had to complete a self-assessment of his professional skills and abilities, develop a professional development plan, which includes a minimum of 40 hours of training per year to enhance these skills, submit detailed annual reports to ICMA to fully explain how he met the goals of each of the professional development activities, and obtain the recommendation of the Credentialing Advisory Board. In order to maintain the ICMA CM designation, Mr. Smith needs to engage in at least 40 continuing educational hours per year and will be evaluated by his colleagues every 5 years. Tough. On behalf of ICMA and ACMA, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Smith on his significant milestone in his career, and I wanted to thank you all for his professional development. Before I put you to sleep, I would now present the ICMA certificate to Mr. Smith. Mayor, would you
Thank you.
like to join us?
Thank you, Ms. Kimball. All right, take care. Back to Dewey Humble. All right. Our next item on our agenda is the call to the public. Call to the public is an opportunity for the public to address the council concerning a subject that is not on the agenda. Public comment is encouraged. Individuals are limited to speak for 3 minutes. Total time for call to the public may be up to 30 minutes per meeting. Council action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date, or responding to criticism. Do we have anyone that wishes to address call to the public? Yes, sir.
That's all one
Good
Craig,
evening,
Craig,
Council
how's
Mayor.
your arm doing?
Oh, it's feeling real good right now. The reason I wanted to come up and address the public tonight here at your council meeting was because of mutually shared issues that we have in regards to the budgets that are looking us in the face over this coming year and for the fiscal year of next year. And a lot of issues have popped up. A lot of people have called me and talked to me about different things here in the town and as well as in the county that that we're going to be facing during this budgetary period. And I wanted to point out that, you know, most people are very well-intended, and they usually are wanting to do what's best for their towns and their cities and their counties. But this year we're looking at deficits that we've never seen before. We're looking back at what we saw back in the 2006-2008 era. And a lot of that, people, when we saw the new governor come in, who I supported and still support, came in and basically made a comment about how we were not going to be raising taxes at the state level. Well, the minute you hear that, I want everybody to realize you need to feel that sucking feeling coming from out of your cities and towns and counties, because that's where it's made up. There was an article here written in the Courier this last week, a letter that I sent to the state in regards to this and to our legislators, because a lot of people don't realize how much money we actually get that comes into our coffers that would normally be used in our cities, towns, and counties that will not be there now. To the tune in the county, we're looking at approximately $1.2 million, $1.3 million that we will not receive subsequently. And you say, well, what kind of money was that? Lottery money, $550,000 to the county. I don't know what it is here in the town. But our share has gone away. And that's how they're balancing the budget at the state level. HERF monies that we will not see, that's roads. When you hear the word HERF, that's roads. So if your roads aren't getting done, part of it's because that money's not coming back down to us the way that it was intended. But I wanted to say to the people of Chino Valley and Yavapai County that it's really important that we support everything is on the table, everything. There is nothing that is not on the table. Everything from wages and benefits for our employees, all the way up to our swimming pool and to roads and things like that in the county, flood control projects, things like that. So when we start talking about these issues, please don't get emotional over them. We have to do something to make things balance, or we'll be in bigger trouble than we are now. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Any others for call to the public? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for this opportunity. Two very quick items.
Excuse me,
A
sir.
little lighter vein.
Excuse me, sir. Mr.
I'm Lee
Mr.
Paul.
Paul.
I live in
Thank you.
Appaloosa Meadows on Harrison Drive, and we're very happy with our streets. I just wanted to bring to the attention of the council and those interested the good quality of some of the students we have in our high school. I recently had the opportunity to sit down and be interviewed by a student in a project called Veterans Heritage. They they take our story, they put them in a book. Our story is sent to us, we approve it, make any corrections, send it back. They put up this book, make a book, and it's all bound and everything. And these books are sent then to Washington, D.C., to the War Memorial College. And after my after my session with him, he sent me a nice letter. I wanted to thank you very much for taking time out of your day to come out to the high school and share your story with me. I was very interested throughout the whole story. Your story gave me a great and different perspective on what and how war was. When you told me that you were 6 foot, 135 pounds, 17 years of age, and with a whole head of hair going into war, that hit me in amazement. I can't imagine how emotional it could have been. As a student being the exact same height, weight, and age, I have no idea what could have been going through your mind for you to pack up and say to yourself that you're going to war and not knowing the outcome is very brave. Everything that you have done is extremely impressive, not only in my mind, but in the many people's mind. I will not only be sharing your story through the book, but I will be telling people personally. I want to say thank you again for your service, strongly appreciated. These students are learning a little bit more about history when they talk to the veterans. And the second item I have here, I'll be very brief. In Phoenix, Greg Stanton is the mayor of Phoenix. Now, it's a modern city. It's got a great big terminal for airplanes. They come in, and when you get into the terminal, you hear Greg Stanton's voice as the mayor. Welcome to Phoenix. Thank you for coming to our city. We hope you appreciate our many businesses, the weather, and wish you a wonderful, wonderful time. Now, I think that we should do something like that in Chino Valley. Now, we don't have a big air terminal, but we do have streets, big road coming in, going out. So I would say that the council consider putting up a billboard On the billboard would be a picture of the present mayor. Now, this billboard could be slotted so that when the mayor is changed, we just change the picture, no problem. and on the billboard, he could say, "Welcome to Chino Valley. We appreciate you coming here. We'd like to have you stay a while, do business with our stores, enjoy the weather." And we could even have, now we couldn't have a welcoming voice, but we could have attached to that billboard an arm. Welcome, 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 Mayor Marley's arm. Welcome to Chino Valley. We thank you so much for coming. And let's modernize. Let's get people interested in coming to Chino Valley and spending some of their hard-earned money in our town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Paul.
Can we put that on the next agenda?
That sand was not running out fast enough.
Would have
Others
passed
for
the sign ordinance?
Yeah, others for call to the public. Okay, good. Call to the public is now closed. Continuing forward to response to the public. Response to the public is an opportunity for the mayor to inform the public about how town officials address matters raised during call to the public at a previous meeting. Item A is Chino Meadow residents and sewer issues. It was pretty neat. I had an opportunity to visit with Mr. Nagel today, the young man who spoke at our last council meeting. Some of you may have seen him holding the cardboard sign, "Sewer steals homes." Anyway, I had an opportunity to spend some time with him today. We went over to try and visit one of our Chino Meadows residents who had written a letter to Town Hall complaining about the price of our sewer, the sewer bill cost. And anyway, immediately after his speaking to us at the council meeting, Mr. Nagel did contact me, and Lon Turner and I, Councilman Turner and I, spent the morning with him and got him connected up with a charitable, charitable organization, a 501c, that hopefully will help him to establish a fund and hopefully provide the means to distribute some of those monies to help folks out with their sewer bills. So I thanked him then, and I thank him now for his concern for our Chino Meadows residents and for all of our citizens. That concludes our call to, or response to the public. Moving on to current event summaries and reports. This item is for information only. The mayor, any council member, or town manager may present a brief summary or report of current events or ask a staff member to provide the same. Presentation on information requested by the mayor and council will be made and questions answered. None, no action will be taken. Do we have any reports on this side? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, I have the resignation of 2 members of the Magistrate Evaluation Committee, myself and Ms. McKee.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Other reports? Yes, ma'am.
The Finance Committee has met, and we're bringing to the council a recommendation for a new auditors when Mr. Duffy is ready to bring that forward.
Okay, thank you. Others? Yes, sir.
A month or so ago, I was invited to go ahead and look at the airport situation. Since then, I have talked with Dave at Guidance Helicopter, and they have moved all of their training to the west side of Fan Road, so they should not be in our community or over our town at this time. They have one that is still here, but it will be moving on the southwest corner, but it's temporary. I also talked to John Cox, who is the manager of the airport, as far as expansion, and yes, it is in the plan, but it's not going to happen tomorrow. So there's no worry about jets flying over your house at this time. So the Safety Committee is not going to meet on those 2 issues.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir.
The Appointments Committee met yesterday evening. We selected, or we're going to recommend, 3 appointees to the P&Z Committee, so that will be on the March 10th agenda.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Smith, did you have a report?
Yes, Mayor, if it's acceptable, I'd like to yield my time to Cecilia Gritman, the
Okay.
Assistant Town Manager.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's my great pleasure this evening to introduce to you Laura Kyrakakis, I'm killing her last name, I'm so sorry, who is our new Human Resources Director. She started yesterday, so we've had the pleasure of working with her for 2 full days now. Laura most recently worked for San Miguel County in Colorado as the county's Human Resources Manager. San Miguel County has approximately 106 employees, so they're very similar in size to Chino Valley. Previous to that, she worked for the town of Mountain Village as an HR generalist. For a short stint, she was also an elected official for the town of Rico in Colorado, 3 years, or unless I already said that. Overall, she has over 20 years of experience in human resources, and she's received her PHR, which is a Professional in Human Resources distinction, recognized by both the Society of Human Resources and HRCI, and she has her bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. So welcome, Laura.
All right, thank you. My mayor's report this evening is has to deal with getting to meet some of our young folks, which Mr. Paul mentioned earlier. Looking back on life, some of our greatest blessings oftentimes start out as disappointments. On February 19th, the Chino Valley Town Council met to begin a series of study sessions on resolving our budget issues. As council members arrived to take their seats, the room swelled almost to capacity with citizens concerned about which programs would be affected. The first budget study session of the year is crucial to the process because it lays the groundwork for the next 3 months of details. As the minutes ticked by, it became apparent that we might not have sufficient members to hold the study session. A quorum of 4 is required for the council to meet, and 2 of our council members, Mr. Wojcik and Mr. Turner, who was driving up from Phoenix, had not yet arrived. 2 council members who were present, Ms. Hatch and Ms. McKee, announced that they were feeling ill and left. Council members Mike Best, Darrell Croft, and I looked out at a room full of people who had come expecting answers regarding the fate of the pool, the library, and other town programs. One phrase immediately came to mind: lynch mob. Fortunately, a large percentage of the crowd was young folks from the high school who were interested in the summer swimming program. Trying to outrun a bunch of high school wrestlers and football players simply wasn't an option for 3 old guys, which Councilman Turner reminded me later that Mr. Best still plays baseball, and he could have left the vice mayor and I to the crowd. It simply wasn't an option for 3 old guys, so we canceled the meeting and spent the evening just visiting with them and answering their questions. What an enjoyable time that turned out to be. I can't remember ever meeting a nicer group of folks since entering office, and I would like to commend their parents for raising such great kids. They were attentive as we explained the challenges that the town faced. They asked insightful questions, and they brainstormed ways to raise funds to keep the pool open for another season. Hopefully we can make that happen. Chris Marley, Mayor of Chino Valley. Continuing onward to our consent agenda. All those items listed below are considered to be routine and may be enacted by one motion. Any council member may request to remove an item from the consent agenda to be considered and discussed separately. Does anyone wish to remove any consent agenda items? Anyone? Okay. The chair would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve consent agenda items 6A and B.
Second it?
Okay, we have a motion and 2 seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 7A, discussion and possible action regarding the Magistrate Evaluation Subcommittee's actions on February 9th, 2015 pertaining to prosecutorial services provided by the City of Prescott.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I move to disband the Magistrate Evaluation Committee.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? I have just a brief moment of discussion. We have had a magistrate evaluation committee that was established in the first part of 2012, and it was for the purpose of developing a process of performance evaluation of the town magistrate. They did a good job. They established a job description and a good solid performance evaluation. Essentially, they fulfilled their charter, and so we've had a motion to disband the Magistrate Evaluation Committee, which leaves us without a contact person. I believe, Mr. Croft, you would like to amend the motion?
I'd like to amend the motion
Suggestion?
to establish the mayor as the contact person for the court in the future.
All right, we have a motion to establish the mayor as a contact person for the court in the future. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second on the amended motion. We have to vote on the amendment first and
Mr.
then
Mayor,
on the motion
if
itself.
I can make a basic correction, and Jamie pulled this up for me. There was two modifications to the duties of the Magistrate Evaluation Committee, one of which was to update the code with respect to that. And one area that you may not be aware of is that the town code requires the use of court improvement fees only for the court. That is not something that's found in the state law, but it does still exist in our code, and it may be something that that you were not aware of at the
Okay.
time. That is one area that we did not modify
Okay.
during that time period. And the second thing that happened is that there was a second modification. I'm sorry, I don't have the dates, but Jamie did pull them up. And the second modification made it a permanent committee of the council, rather than existing at the time when we talked about committees. I asked if it should be disbanded at that point, and it was then made a permanent subcommittee.
All right.
That's basically the history.
You bet. And as Ms. Hatch pointed out, they have made some modifications in our town code, and as I said, they did a good job establishing the performance evaluation and the job description. But at this point in time, seeing as that work is done, we've had a motion to disband it, but we do have to vote on the amendment first and then on the motion itself. So we have a motion to amend. Could you please read your amendment?
The motion to
please?
amend is to also add establish mayor as a contact person for the court.
Okay.
Point of order,
Yes,
I mean,
ma'am.
I'm in agreement with that, but that's not on the agenda. Ms. Smiley, are we allowed to do that since that's not on the proposed agenda?
Ms. Smiley?
It's not specifically on the proposed agenda item, but since disbanding the evaluation subcommittee would leave no contact for the magistrate, I think that it would be acceptable as part of that action.
Right, right. We do need to fill that void, or else we'll have to have another item on how to do that in our next meeting. You got to love government. So, all right, we have a motion and a second on the amendment. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion, the amendment carries. Now the motion itself. Could you please read the
And
motion in its entirety?
Councilwoman Hatch has made that motion.
Okay, she had
so-
made that motion.
Made that
Could you
motion.
please read the motion itself, Ms. Hatch?
Yes, sir. I move to disband the Magistrate Evaluation Committee.
Okay, and as amended, the motion as amended, do we have a second still? Okay, so we have an amended motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving onwards to item B, discussion and possible action to direct staff to research feasibility of outsourcing some or all functions of the Chino Valley Municipal Court. I had placed this item on our agenda. As you know, we're coming into the budget season, and everything needs to be looked at. Our total cost of court operation is around $370,000 a year, with revenues, brings in revenues of about $70,000 a year. The final cost to the town is about $300,000 a year. And with our magistrate contract coming up here in the near future, I had wanted to ask if our council was supportive, if we could instruct staff to begin to look at that item as Mr. Brown, is Mr. Brown still here?
Yeah.
As Mr. Brown indicated in call to the public, during the budget season, every item is on the table. Every item has to be on the table. So that's why I had proposed that. As far as additional information, there's about 5 other justice courts in the area, and my desire was if our staff could take a look at the feasibility of outsourcing some or all functions of our court. Any discussion amongst council members? Okay. Could I have a motion then?
Motion to direct staff to research feasibility of outsourcing some or all functions of the Chino Valley Municipal Court.
Second it?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item C, consideration and possible action to adopt ordinance number 15-793 to rezone approximately 4.78 acres, generally located at 920 East Road 2 North, from agricultural residential 5-acre minimum, AR5, to commercial light, CL. Applicant is Brent Marinell. Ms. Mayday, you're up.
Surprise. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you, you have a ordinance number 15793 to rezone approximately 5 acres generally located at 920 East Road 2 North from its current designation of agricultural residential 5-acre minimum to commercial light. The applicant is requesting this action because he desires to open a small commercial greenhouse that will grow and provide fresh produce to the town for sale. The maximum size greenhouse he can build on an AR5 with 5 acres is 600 square feet. So anytime he wanted to exceed that size, he would have to come back and ask for variance.
Okay.
He is requesting the rezoning action so that he can build larger greenhouses and provide that services to the community.
Okay.
The applicant's here and can answer any questions that anyone may have. Yes, sir.
Oh, go ahead and finish.
I was going to say, we did look at this at Planning and Zoning. They unanimously recommended that this be forwarded to commission or council with a recommendation of approval. The neighbors that spoke at the Planning and Zoning hearing were all firmly in support.
Okay. Before the council asks any questions of Ms. Maydad, I'm going to ask the question that's on the mind of, I'm sure, many of our citizens. If the applicant chooses to quit raising produce and decides to grow medical marijuana, that would have to go through a CUP process, correct?
This is for this use. He is entitled to do a medical marijuana cultivation.
Okay.
However, it's one of 40-odd uses that are uses by right, and he also has other conditional uses, so it's one of many uses that he would be entitled to.
Okay. And the second question that I'm sure our public would want to ask before the rest of the council asks is that if the individual applicant so chooses to change to raising medical marijuana, they will have to, A, get a permit from the state, and B,
Correct.
comply with all the security measures and,
Correct.
And all that.
They can't just change from green peppers to marijuana. There's a long, arduous, rigorous review process by the state of Arizona.
Okay.
And we have processes as well, that they have to come in and provide, proof that they have been licensed by the state of Arizona to undertake that activity.
Okay, thank you. One quick third question. How many greenhouses are allowed by this CUP?
He would have to meet the maximum lot coverage. He would be restricted to that, which I believe is 50%.
Okay, 50% of the lot coverage. Okay, my questions are finished. Any others? Yes, sir, Mr. Wojcik.
I'm trying to figure out where this property is exactly.
Oh, sure, I'm sorry. Whoa. This is this parcel where Safeway is. This is 89, and this is 2 North. This is the parcel that is subject to the rezoning right here. It is next to the church.
Right behind the church.
Correct. It's just west of the church, right, and across from the
Transmission.
right. The transmission is here, and then Country West is here.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
If we rezone to commercial light and he subsequently decides he doesn't want to do greenhouses, he's entitled to use that property for any commercial light use, correct?
Just like the
So-
ones across the street, yes.
Yeah, he can knock down the greenhouses and put a commercial use
Correct.
up.
Okay. Any questions on this side? Okay. Excellent. One other question that has been asked me of the community is when we first passed the medical marijuana growing ordinance, part of that, originally, when we had our other attorneys, the council had moved to include not only a certain distance limit from schools, but a certain distance limit from churches. I believe that distance limit from churches was removed. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So there's only a distance limit for medical marijuana from schools.
Cultivation, yes.
Okay. And that cultivation limit is?
500 feet.
500 feet. Okay. Thank you. All right. No other questions from council? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions from the audience, and then we'll probably have you back up, Ms. Mayday, okay? Do we have any questions from the audience? Yes, sir. Please come up and identify yourself.
Yeah, my name's Robert McCauley, and I remember very distinctly when the ordinance on medical marijuana was passed, there was distances from schools, in our ordinance, schools, single-family residences, parks, and churches. Not just the state law had schools only, but our ordinance had all those things in it. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but I'm thinking it was 500 feet. And so, that might need to be researched so the applicant knows if he's proposing eventually to do medical marijuana, with where that's located, based on the ordinance we passed, he can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name's Brent Marinell, and I do live at 920 East Road 2 North. And I have no desire to raise any medical marijuana whatsoever, so this shouldn't be a problem. It's just going to be a family business with my daughter
Cool.
and 2 young grandsons and my wife. So
You bet.
the medical marijuana is not in the picture whatsoever.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to answer the questions for the citizens. Yes, ma'am.
If the property is sold, does that maintain, did that zoning maintain?
Absolutely, unless a subsequent owner rezones it.
Okay.
You bet, the zoning goes with the property. All right. Any other from our public? Okay, thank you very much.
I did want to qualify one statement. Actually, what the ordinance did was regulate the location of dispensaries rather than all those, the 500-foot separation applied to the dispensaries and not the grow facilities.
Right.
Okay.
So, okay. Yes, ma'am.
I remember specifically sitting there because churches were not included.
Correct.
And for grow facilities, and I remember the mayor at that time specifically asked for churches to be included.
Mayor?
Excuse me for just a second. We got 2 quick points of clarification. If you would hold, Ms. Hatch. Yes, ma'am.
The agenda item is on the rezoning, not talking
Right.
about the medical marijuana ordinance, so maybe
Okay.
we could have this discussion later off
You
the...
bet, you bet. All right,
record.
thank you. One brief point of clarification, when Ms. Hatch said the mayor at that time, was the mayor at that time, Mr. Bunker. So-
It was
all right,
Mr.
thank
Bunker.
you.
And I specifically remember
bet.
that event
You bet.
because it was Mr. Bunker.
You bet. All right, well, thank you. We did need to clarify that, Ms. Smiley. Okay, any other questions for Ms. Mady? No? All right. Cool, thank you. The chair would entertain a motion then.
A motion to adopt ordinance number 15793 for the rezoning of approximately 4.78 acres generally located at 920 East Road 2 North from agricultural residential 5-acre minimum, AR5, to commercial light CL.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item D, consideration and possible action to approve a conditional use permit to change the legal nonconforming status of an existing residential use to conforming status after the property has been rezoned to commercial light. Ms. Mayday.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you, you have a conditional use permit request from Brent Marinell. The residential use that is currently on his property upon the adoption of the previous ordinance is now a legal nonconforming use. It is a conditional use in a commercial light zoning district. Mr. Marinell is requesting that a conditional use permit to be issued so that he can continue to make improvements such as a porch or a garage to the residential use without having to go through the public hearing process again.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions from council regarding that? Excuse me, I believe the Reader's Digest version was, he was asking to be able to live on his property now that it was.
He can continue to live there, it's a legal non-conforming use, so he can't expand it. He can't add on, he can't do anything to expand, so he couldn't put on a garage, he couldn't put on a porch, he couldn't do any of those sorts of things
Okay.
without having to come back and getting a conditional use permit at a later date. So rather than coming back a second time, as long as we're doing one, we might as well tag the other one right along with it, so he is free to go forward and
Great.
build.
Go forward with improvements.
Yeah,
Yes,
2
ma'am.
questions. Number one, was this presented to planning and zoning?
Yes, it was, and it was
did they
unanimously
also
supported.
unanimously place it?
Correct.
Yeah. And the second thing is, you're asking us to a blanket approval without knowing what it is he wants to do. That's correct?
Well, this is the site plan for what he has proposed, and his request is for a conditional use permit for a residential use, single-family residential use on his property.
So it is specifically for these improvements?
The single-family use, it's for the single-family use.
Yeah, but it's specifically for those improvements.
No, it's for any improvements he wants to make for a single-family residential use. He could add a garage, he could add a shed, he could add a porch, he could add a bedroom.
Okay.
Basically, any other homeowner.
Exactly.
Bringing him into a position like any other homeowner in
Exactly.
the city.
So it would be the same as anybody else in town that wanted to make an addition to their home, or a porch, or a garage, or a shed.
Whereas.
Yeah, but that's the question, though,
right.
with the permitting process. How would you use the permitting process as a single-family residential, or would the setbacks be what you saw for a commercial building, which might have much less setbacks and might even have requirements to pave things?
Well, the residential use is a residential use, and if it's his residential garage,
Right. Okay.
No, that's not what I'm asking about setbacks and things like that, which vary with the kind
right,
of...
well, it would depend upon the use. If it's a residential use, like a garage or a porch or a patio, it would have to abide by the residential setbacks.
Okay.
If it's a commercial use, part of the greenhouses or something like that, that's entirely separate. This is strictly a residential use.
You bet. So basically, every other homeowner in Chino that wanted to put a garage up, they would have to get a building permit?
Correct.
And he's
It
asking
doesn't
for
exempt
that
him from anything like
rather than
that.
a CUP process?
Correct.
And the requirements would be the same as for any other residential use rather than commercial?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Is there only going to be one greenhouse erected?
Okay.
Okay. Now, if business is good and he needs another greenhouse, does he have to come back?
No.
Okay.
That's the purpose of the rezoning.
Okay, good. Thank
From
you.
what you said, Ms. Mayday, he can cover up to 50% of his
Correct.
property with
As I
greenhouse.
recall off the top of my head. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Any other questions? None? Okay.
I like
Chair-
business in town.
Chair, excellent. The chair would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve a conditional use permit to change the legal nonconforming status of an existing residential use to a legally conformed status after it has been rezoned to a commercial light CL zoning district.
Second it?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item E, informal hearing required by Unified Development Ordinance, Section 4.25, regarding a proposed wireless tower installations at Town Hall, the Recreation Center, and the library. Ms. Mayday, you're back again.
I'm back. Good evening, Mayor and Council. We discussed this item at the work study. This is the proposed Chino Valley Wireless Project as set forth in the Come on. As set forth in the ordinance, we're required to have an informational hearing to take comment from the public, to provide information to them. So this is essentially what we've discussed in the past. The proposal is for the installation of 2 Verizon cell sites and the installation of 2 town data dishes on monopoles at the town hall and at the rec center, and then a tower at the library, which would also contain 2 tower data dishes. The tower at the library is currently planned to be a lattice-type tower. These towers will provide, dramatically improve the service in town and provide building coverage to Safeway and other locations along Highway 89, and it will also enable us to support any events that may be held at Old Home Manor. Construction of 2 cell sites in the town-owned tower will provide, at the library, will allow also, not only for the town data dishes, but will eliminate the need for the Cable One fiber optic agreement that's currently connecting the town's system. These are the current existing locations. There are, the new ones are in red, the existing sites are in green. So you can see we get some triangulation and signal between the, this facility here, the North Campus, and the rec center and swimming pool area. This will, again, boost signal along 89 and the surrounding areas. And again, these are talking about where these go and how these will work. Sun State will build the 100-foot tower with Verizon Wireless, and at the town hall, they pay no ground lease, and the town gets a dish and installation. We don't pay we pay no lease for the tower space. And then at the rec center, the tower will be essentially the same. We get a dish space. Sun State doesn't pay a ground lease, and then the lattice at the library is constructed by Sun State at no expense to the town, so that we can complete the loop here. And this, again, will save the town some money. This, for example, is the existing recreation building here. This is the footprint of the cell tower, not the heavy dotted line. It's just this here. This is how the deal is structured. Sun State will lease two 50 by 50 sites at no cost. We will provide design and materials necessary for construction and installation, and then we get the lease and use at no cost. And that is the summary of the project. I do have Spencer here, Spencer Guest from our IT department, and we do have a representative here from Sun State that can talk also to parts of this.
You bet. And we went over a fairly lengthy study session on this.
Yes,
so
we
that's
did.
good. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Subsequent to the study session, a couple of us were hit with some rather difficult questions, one of which is how, if we didn't do competitive bidding, this organization was chosen, and why competitive bidding was not chosen. The big question is that there are apparently local vendors here in Chino Valley who were not given an opportunity or a shot at this. So I guess they're correct in asking, how did you choose this vendor, and why was there no competitive bidding?
Would that be Mr. Smith or Miss Mayday?
We didn't go out to bid for the project. We could advertise for the project. As far as I know, there's nobody else out there willing to do it for free. The $28,000 that the town budgeted for equipment this year will more than cover the town's equipment costs. This contractor is willing to construct the facilities, including the town's facilities, for no cost. Based on the amount of the construction, we didn't see a requirement in the procurement code that would require us to go to public bid.
However, they're not doing it for free. They're getting a free lease. Another question that came up is, if someone else comes into town, those towers are on our property, and they feel that we should get the lease money from any additional people using that tower. Has that agreement been placed here in this document?
We could ask for that. Were we to ask for future shares of co-location, we would be required to pay lease space on the tower, which would be in excess of the ground space that the tower company is going to, would be paying the town. The lease space on the tower per month would exceed the lease that the town would let to the tower company.
Okay,
But
excuse me for just a
all right.
second. How long ago was our study session?
You know, I don't know. This presentation we put together in November of last year. Do
I
you
think it was
remember?
late January, as I recall.
Okay. And you were up here, were you not, sir? You're from Sun State?
Yes.
Is that not correct? Do you remember when you traveled up here?
Oh, that would have been
presented
Chad.
to
This
us?
is not Chad.
Oh, okay.
I believe it was the January 22nd. For some reason, that date is
Okay,
sticking in my head.
January the 22nd, okay. And so subsequent to that time, these questions have been asked. I've encouraged our council in times past, if you have questions, please get those resolved before we come to council so that if we do have something that we have to ask, the folks are not blindsided by it. This is huge for our...
This is a
No,
public
ma'am,
hearing.
Ma'am, please, don't interrupt. Okay? Thank you. I've encouraged our council over the past couple of years to please, if you have a question, go over it, get it resolved as best you can. There will be last-minute questions, and we understand that. But we also need to be sensitive to the concept of blindsiding folks, okay?
There's no one blindsiding. Those are questions that were asked.
Yes,
And I'm
ma'am.
asking them again. When we get a cut of the deal and someone's leasing space on there, then we should be getting a cut of the deal. We're giving them free lease space. This isn't something they're doing for us for free. They're getting space for that tower that we would normally get an annual lease for. So it's kind of misleading to tell the public they're willing to do it for free. And I'm relatively certain, because a local vendor came to me and said, why weren't they given an opportunity as well?
Okay.
And, you know, you still haven't answered the question, how did you go about finding this vendor?
These were professionals that I'm familiar with from work that I did before I came to Chino Valley. I spent about 8 years in the wireless industry working with various tower companies and wireless providers in Arizona and California. I would say in this area, you're going to be looking at a lease of about $600 to $800 a month for your 50 by 50 space. You're going to pay way more than that for a center line on a tower.
Okay.
So if you want to go that route and spec it all out and have us pay them and then they pay us and then we pay them for construction, you're going to wind up not being able to do it for $28,000.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Croft, you had something?
What does it cost to install one of those towers with materials and time and labor and stuff? Do you have can you give us an idea?
Mayor Marley and council members, for your record, my name is Todd Doust. I'm with Sun State Towers. Our address is 1426 North Marvin Avenue in Gilbert, Arizona. To answer your question, Vice Mayor, the cost of the tower is going to depend on a couple of factors. One is, of course, the soil conditions that you are installing the caisson or the foundation into, and what the tower is structurally designed for and designed to support. 100-foot monopole with average utility runs and access compound civil costs, it's probably going to cost the neighborhood of about $150,000.
Okay, thank you.
For each site.
Any other questions for Mr. Doust? No? Okay, thank you very much. All right, anything else, Ms. Mayday?
That's it.
Okay, any other discussion between council members?
Yes, these 100-foot towers need a CUP according to our Unified Development Ordinance. I don't know the number because I didn't have time to look it up, but anything over 80 feet, according to what we voted on, needs a CUP.
Except in this case when it's located on town property,
Why would we be an exception to our own rules?
because that's the way the ordinance is written.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right. Since this is an informal hearing.
Correct.
And no action is required on part of our council, we're going to move on to item F. Consideration and possible action to make the finding that there is a reasonable basis for constructing the Chino Valley Skate Park capital project in-house, and that this project is not being constructed in-house to avoid the bidding requirements pursuant to the town's procurement policy. Mr. Gritman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. In your council little area over here for the last 3 or 4 weeks, we have left the construction plans for the skate park. I don't know if anybody's taken a look at it, but if you've seen it, it's pretty detailed and pretty lots of different amenities, everything else going to it. California Skate Parks completed their design late January, late December, early January. Their construction cost estimates is $855,000 to build the project. We have $19,000 in parks impact fees. So if we're going to turn $19,000 into $850,000, we have to coordinate all kinds of volunteers, donations, all kinds of things. So what we're here before you tonight is to declare this project as an in-house project under our procurement code that enables us to break it into its various components. The town may choose to participate if the contractors would like us to. For example, doing some of the dirt work. If you'll notice in your packet, I included the detailed engineer's estimates, and there's some specific items out there that says may be constructed by the town, by town forces. We did that specifically to tell the contractors, if we can help, we certainly want to participate in turning 19,000 into 855,000. We have Drake, who has agreed to donate all the concrete. We have Muddy Buddies, who has agreed to place that through the shotcrete methods. We have a local, Mr. Corey, and another gentleman who are willing to donate all the steel on the project. And we have a meeting set up March 4th at 2 p.m. here in these chambers to discuss how we build this with all of the different vendors as well as 3 contractors. We've invited Fan Contracting, Bloom Contracting, and Asphalt Paving and Supply. AP&S is doing the roundabout up at 4 North. And we're asking them basically, how do we do this? And so what we're here tonight is to hopefully be able to stand up in that meeting March 4th and say that the council has declared this as an in-house project, authorized us to spend up to $19,000 out of parks impact fees, and see if we can turn this into a finished skate park. Now, in my council summary there, I did allude, one gentleman is going after a couple of different grants. One of them is a $50,000 Tony Hawk grant, and there's another grant out there. Any subsequent grants that may be awarded will have to come back to the council to actually be accepted, or be run through their 501, through the town's 501. We'll figure out what the best way to do that. But right now, today, this is only authorizing up to the $19,000 in parks impact fees and the declaration of an in-house project.
All right.
That's it.
Before I ask the council for any questions, I'd like to say that's pretty ambitious, trying to build an $850,000 skate park for $19,000. I've already told several of our council members they're welcome to use my concrete tools, but they won't be used by me. So that's good.
I'll tell you, this is one of the very few projects that gets me really jazzed about doing this job for 26 years. I honestly think we're going to be able to pull this off. I really do. There's enough local support. Everybody can see this is going to be a great, tremendous project, not only for the park itself, but for the kids of Chino Valley. And any of you who've actually seen the construction plans, you'll know this is complex and complicated. Lion Engineering and Civil Tech are both being asked to donate all their construction surveying times. So we will probably be coming back because Phyllis is going to have to review all of their various liability waivers that they're going to want. And so we'll be coming back to you in different ways on how to get this thing done. But I do think we can pull this off.
Okay. And if it does happen, we'll have a lot of big thank yous to a lot of folks for donating. Mr. Best, I believe you had a question.
Well, we had a opportunity by California Skate Parks. They presented the drawings, the concepts, and we must have had 50, 70 people at that meeting.
Yes, we did.
And a lot of the parents said, yes, I will help.
Cool.
They wanted to help. They wanted to start right then. But like Ron said, it's emotional. The kids were excited, and I'd like to see it get done.
Excellent. Yes, sir, Mr. Wojcik.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we table this whole item indefinitely and concentrate on keeping the pool open with the
Second.
19,000 and whatever other funds we can come up with.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to table this item indefinitely. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye. It's 3-3, Miss Lewis. And I believe if it's 3-3, the motion does not pass. Is that correct? Okay. So the motion did not pass. Any further discussion on the skate park?
I guess not.
Okay.
Not if you tabled it.
Well, no. The motion to table did not pass.
Okay.
We Further discussion? The motion is, or the item is still on the floor, which is better than in the concrete half pipe, I suppose. Yes, ma'am.
When you have the meeting on March 4th, and you have all the vendors and everything in there, are you going to keep a total of the amounts, like the cost for the concrete and any other items that other people are going to donate? So you have your 19,000 and then work up to the 855,000, or how are you going to know that you have enough to do the project?
I guess I don't fully understand the question. I'm going to be standing up in front of a whole bunch of people and saying, how do we turn 19,000 into 855,000? They're going to tell me how they're going to do it.
Right. Now, are you, but the workmanship, the time, the, everything that's used in this, the cement or whatever other components are used, each have a value, a dollar value. How are you going to know whether that $19,000 has indeed, or how close it will get to the 855,000?
Again, I don't understand your question. I'm going to be standing up in front of a whole bunch of folks who are going to be volunteering hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations.
How do you know how much it will be
I don't care how much it's going to be. It's going to cost the town no more than $19,000 to turn this into $855,000. I don't care if Drake chooses. I don't care if Mr. Fan says, I'll pay all $855,000. All I know is that the town won't be. I don't care. It's going to only limit the town's liability to the $19,000. That's it.
Okay, Mr. Grittenman, I don't know, I'm not an engineer, but I think when the 19,000 is gone, then we'll know that it's all been used up.
We may use the 19,000 to build a very nice thank you sign.
Okay.
We have no idea. That's the whole point of the meeting on March 4th, is to explain to the contractors, how do we turn this into a finished product? As I said, an individual may stop and say, I'm going to be Daddy Warbucks, I'm going to write you out a check, and then we're going to publicly bid the whole thing. I kind of doubt that'll happen, but it might. Or Drake and several other, 3 contractors, several other people are going to say, we'll do these pieces right here, we'll do these pieces right here, and we'll do these 3 pieces right here, so that by the time we get done with all 3 of those sections, we have a finished product. As far as what their cost is, that's up to them. I don't really care how much they spend as far as donated time. The town's only liability is $19,000, and that's it.
Okay. And that's in our Parks and Recs? Yes, sir.
In Parks and Recs impact fees, which is why it has to be used for expansion of the park system.
Okay.
We should clarify that.
Thank you for explaining that. It has to be used for expansion of the park system.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I assume the 19,000 does not include any town labor, which we would be giving to the project free.
I don't know that. If we use HERF equipment on this, there will have to be some type of transfer out of the project back to HERF, because HERF is paid for by highway user revenue funds. I don't know. It may be a portion of that. The contractors may say, we don't want the town to do our base work. We'll do that ourselves because we trust our guys more than you guys. I don't know. We don't know any of those things yet. The only point of it is that we're only asking that this project be declared as an in-house project, limiting the town's liabilities at $19,000. However the money gets spent is how it will get spent. And by doing the in-house project, we can break it into these various components under what the procurement code allows for. Some of it may get used for some of the dirt material. Some of it may get used to buy some of the specialty steel, because there's a lot of specialty coping edges that go on the corners of these features. I have no idea. That's the whole point of meeting with the contractors and saying, guys, I got 19,000, how do we turn this project into a success?
And, excuse me, and we will basically thrash out the details of how to use, folks in the town who want to volunteer their labor, volunteer whatever. All right.
Yep. I can tie a rebar.
You can tie your...
Mayor Marley?
Yes, sir.
I just had a point of clarification that I wanted to make sure everybody understood. Because of the nature of the $19,000, they could not be used to operate the pool.
Right.
They have to be used for the expansion of existing recreational facilities
Okay.
within the town of Chino.
And our audience picked that up right when Mr. Gritman said that it could only, those funds could only be used for expansions. Thank you. Excellent. Any other questions? Okay, the chair would entertain a motion.
I'm going to make a motion to make the finding that there's a reasonable basis for constructing the Chino Valley Skate Park capital project in-house, and that this project is not being constructed in-house to avoid the bidding requirements pursuant to the town's procurement policy.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay, may we have a vote count, Ms. Lewis? A roll call vote, yes, please. I want our audience to know, okay? Inquiring minds want to know.
What do you want from, I'm voting no.
No.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
No.
Okay. So we have 3 voted no and 3 voted yes, so the motion does not pass. Okay? Thank you.
All right.
Item G, consideration and possible action to make the finding that there's a reasonable basis for constructing the following capital projects in-house. Center Street between Road 1 East and Cottonwood Lane, 2015 Spring Chip Seal Program, and roadway preparation for the Community Development Block Grant Project, and that these projects are not being constructed in-house to avoid the bidding requirements pursuant to the town's procurement policy. Before Mr. Gritman begins, I just wanted to let our audience know I ran into a lady at the post office who said she watches these on television. I told her some of them have got to be thrillers. So, yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is also a declaration. We do these normal projects once a year. These projects have been in the budget. Center Street, extending from Road 1 East back to a railroad, has been in the budget in the works for a couple of years now. We are in the final throes literally today, or actually tomorrow after you sign the last right-of-way acquisition, Mr. Mayor. We will have acquired all the right-of-way for Center Street. The Spring Chip Seal Program was approved by the council last September. And then the getting ready for the Community Development Block Grant Project. What we're doing is, by including that work in town forces, is that we're leaving the maximum amount of the grant to be used for actually paving the areas up in Chino Meadows Unit 5, along with Cottonwood. Robert asked that I come up with some cost estimates on what would we estimate if we bid these out individually. The Center Street project, which again includes 5,500 feet in length, 8 inches deep in AB, 26-foot wide roadway, trucking, processing, and so on. If we bid that out, including plan development, construction staking, the whole 9 yards, we're looking at about $470,000. If we were to try to bid that project out, which means we have to produce a set of biddable plans, we have to go through the whole process. What we're doing under these programs is we develop 30% plans, and we construct them with the oversight of myself, a professional engineer, and in the past it's been Richard Straub. We have a new gentleman starting here on Monday who has a wealth of construction background as the Assistant Public Works Director, and under Michael's and my purview, we will be constructing these projects to ensure that we are in compliance with all the different roadway standards, ASHTO, ASTM, all the other different materials that we're using on the project. The Spring Chip Seal Program, if we were to come in and provide aggregate base course for 9,200 feet of roadway, which includes Damien Loop, Karen Acres, and Bumblebee, along with milling the roadways, trucking, processing, we're looking at approximately $700,000 for that project, and that includes the chip seal itself. Under the CDBG program, if we were to do a project like that, with just coming in, hiring a contractor to process, the AB, place it, and compact it, getting ready for the asphalt, we're looking at approximately $400,000. So with that, you can figure out what the cost savings are to the town. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
All right. Yes, sir, Mr. Wojcik.
Because I live up in that neighborhood where a lot of this is proposed, I'd like to know from the town attorney if I need to recuse myself from this. If that is a conflict of interest because it pertains to my neighborhood. Both the Center Street deal and the paving of the roads up in Chino Meadows 5. I don't want to get crosswise by voting on something that I don't be accused of conflict of interest.
You don't live on
Yes,
Center
ma'am.
Street, you live in Chino Meadows.
Excuse me, yes, Ms. Smiley?
Well, in making that determination, the first thing you look at is whether you have a pecuniary interest. Do you have something of financial value to gain or lose by this decision? And if you look at that, I don't think you really do.
Well, I would assume it would improve the value of the homes up there where we're in the mud,
But you don't know that.
but I can't guarantee it. That's
You're just
correct.
assuming. You know, it's not
It's a pretty safe
even a
assumption.
reasonable, I don't think it rises to the level where you have to worry about a conflict of interest.
Okay, well, I want a legal opinion on it before I get involved so that I don't get in trouble, which is my middle name, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, I do not think that would be
Okay.
considered a conflict
thank
of
you.
interest.
Easy enough. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Gritman?
Why?
Yes, ma'am.
Why are these all merged together and not separated out?
Just did it, so I did one agenda item, and we could go through this one in one
Yeah,
fell swoop.
because some of us might have liked to have seen them as individual parts, but, you merge them all together like that, and it's really hard to see how you're laying it out.
Okay.
As far as laying out what? I don't understand.
How much for each one, and if we wanted to approve one and delay the other,
The
it makes
cost-
it different the way it's presented.
The costs under each individual are shown on page 58 and 59 of your packet.
Yeah, but-
The costs are broken down into each one of these. If you would like to take them one at a time, that doesn't bother me. You certainly have that right.
I don't think we're going to split it up into three.
How is this funded?
It's funded through a couple of different avenues. One of them through just regular highway user revenue fees. We're using the HERF monies to coat the project, or to coat the roads.
And that's
up-
restricted funds, right?
CDBG. It all has to be used on roads, yes. Center Street is being funded out of road impact fees because that is an expansion. It's a new road getting pushed through. CDBG, as I just said, is funded through HERF, and the Spring Chip Seal Program is also actually funded through HERF.
Okay. Mr. Wojcik had his hand up. Yes, sir.
The Center Street is going to be paved with asphalt, right?
No. Center Street between Road 1 East and Cottonwood will be a double chip seal. From Cottonwood back to Railroad is included in the CDBG project, which will be 2 inches of asphalt.
So where the new culverts were put in, that's going to be just chip sealed?
Over the ones at Center Street and Santa Cruz?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's all we have the money for.
I thought originally we were talking about having a contractor do asphalt on that.
If we did asphalt for a mile of road, you're looking at $500,000-$600,000 just the surfacing of the roadway.
Okay, so that's chip sealed, but then from Cottonwood on,
That is asphalt.
that will be
That'll
asphalt
be 2 inches of asphalt under the CDBG project.
until you run out of money.
Yes, and then in 4 years, we'll be coming back with a recommendation to the council to continue that. And it'll be up to the council whether you choose to do that or not.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to make the finding there is reasonable basis.
Oh, excuse me for a second. You had one more question, ma'am?
Do we have all the rock is purchased, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. You had a question,
I
ma'am?
just want to verify that there's no other source of funding and other than what you mentioned, HERF,
And road impact fees.
CDBG, and road impact.
CDBG is not being used for this item, no. It's only HERF and road impact fees.
And no other funds?
No, CDBG will be coming through a separate item at a later date when we actually bid the project. Under the terms of that grant, we can't do that in-house. We have to go through the public bidding process. When Michael comes on board Monday, he's going to be creating the construction plans for the CDBG project, and that'll be coming back to you for award, I'm going to guess, in May, with construction start in June.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it had said in there preparation for the CDBG project, so that was sort
It's
of
only
confusing.
preparation.
Yes, sir.
We've done most of the improvement for that, haven't we? I mean, the trucks have been over there, your bulldozers and what have you, for the last couple of weeks.
We've just been doing drainage improvements.
Pardon?
We've just been doing drainage improvements. That's all we've been doing.
What's left to do?
We have to haul in all the AB, everything under this item, and then we have to go through the bidding process to actually award the laying of the asphalt.
Okay. All right, the chair would entertain a motion.
Motion to make the findings there is a reasonable basis for constructing the following capital projects in-house. Center Street between Road 1 East and Cottonwood Lane, 2015 Spring Chip Seal Program, and roadway preparation for the Community Development Block Grant Project, and that these projects are not being constructed in-house to avoid the bidding requirements pursuant to the town's procurement policy.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Consideration and possible action to approve the rental agreements with RDO Equipment Company for an amount not to exceed $3,866. Is that missing some zeros, or?
No, that's just
it?
even.
Okay.
That's
It has a comma after it. $3,866. Road Machinery LLC for an amount not to exceed $9,515, and Empire Southwest LLC for an amount not to exceed $26,904.04 for Center Street 2015 Spring Chip Seal Program and the roadway preparation for the CDBG project. Funds to come from Public Works roadway maintenance line item in the HERF fund and road impact fees in the capital improvement fund. Mr. Gritman?
This is related to the previous item. This is the rental of all the equipment we're going to need to bring the other projects to fruition.
Okay, great.
That's what it is. This project was previously bid under Yavapai County, and so all we're doing is tacking onto Yavapai County's bid.
Okay.
And you have in your packet 3 different rental agreements for each one of the different vendors.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Where's the money coming from for this?
Again, it states right on there, it comes from HERF and road impact fees.
Thank you.
Okay. Others? Okay, the chair would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the rental agreement with RDO Equipment Company for an amount not to exceed $3,866. Road Machinery LLC for an amount not to exceed $9,515. And Empire Southwest LCC for an amount not to exceed $26,904.04 for Center Street 2015 Spring Chip Seal Program and roadway preparation for the CDBG project.
Okay.
Second
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Our executive session was, I believe, dealt with earlier. Yes, ma'am.
This executive session wasn't dealt with earlier, but what I would like to propose with respect to this, the attorney service is best dealt with after we determine whether we're going to be contracting out other parts of the service, and then it's best to look at our prosecution service at that time, once we decide the rest of it.
Okay.
So I don't know if you need to read this, but I would move to table it, I guess, indefinitely.
You bet. Move to
And-
table.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to table executive item 8A. We have a motion and a second. For those of you who don't have an agenda, it's an executive session pursuant to ARS 38431, 03A3 and 4 for discussion or consultation for legal advice with the town attorney, and in order to consider the town's position and instruct the town attorney regarding an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Prescott related to providing prosecutorial services for Chino Valley that is the subject of negotiations. And it was brought forth by council members Hatch and McKee, who also proposed that it be tabled. So they motioned and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Mr. Best, you haven't asked for the last motion.
I move that we adjourn this.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and several seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, stay here. Motion, meeting adjourned.
I got a letter from the town saying that the thing about the towers was supposed to have public input, and we never had an opportunity. I came to this meeting. Yeah, we never, I had a question about if this tower was going to be lit.
Yes, sir.
You know, there was going to be a light on top. How big is it compared to the other towers there already? You know, so this was not a
Yes, sir.
official informal hearing.
No, this was an informal hearing. There was actually a study session, which I'm surprised Ms. Hatch didn't notify
But this
you.
letter came to my home saying, please come to this meeting and we'll answer your questions